Chinese community is encouraged because, of course, my wife is a city councillor in Toronto, and we're also encouraging particularly young people to consider getting involved in our democratic processes, and it's very important. I know many people are discouraged right now. They see political games being played, and what we try to do is to encourage real action on real issues in our party. So immigration, I'll talk a little about immigration issues. Some of the social service organizations here are involved in immigration issues, of course, and we've been pushing the government to try to get them to take some action after so many years. And then there's the issue of the head tax. Well, these are issues very specific to the Chinese community. Then there are the broader questions, which are of great concern to Chinese families. For example, paying for education for their children, for university and college. And we're trying to have our federal government invest in post-secondary education to keep the costs manageable for all the families. Because it's terrible if you have a bright young student who works very hard through high school and then they find that the tuition is too expensive. And of course, for some people, the seniors' housing is very important. We've been involved both with Monchong and also with Yihong, and we need some more government funding because you can't build all those apartments just with the fundraising, with bike-a-thons and walk-a-thons and banquets and so on. So we've been successful in getting $1.6 billion added to the budget for housing, and some of that hopefully will be able to go to affordable housing. And we have some details on that on my website. Well, we're recruiting Chinese candidates across the country, and we think that's very important. Plus also we have many volunteers helping in our campaigns and helping to bring the message door to door. That's usually the way it is. Of course, we work with organizations in the Chinese community to consult them on what the best policies are. In my riding, I work with the East Chinatown Chamber of Commerce, of course, and we're working to try and get the first Chinese gate in Toronto, authentic Chinese gate. The Lions are there already, as you probably know, and now we're trying to raise the money for the balance of the project. So there's community projects that sometimes are one of the reasons why people get involved.
Is your wife going to run?
She hasn't decided yet. She'll have to see. She'll make up her decision and make her announcement when the time comes. Yes, we had several Chinese candidates in our last team, and we hope to have we have some of those coming back. Our candidate in Calgary, and so it's always an outreach process that we're involved in.
Mr. Layton, what do you expect if that's the election pretty soon? Do you think NDP will gain more seats?
I think that's quite likely. We don't want an election right now. We'd rather have a positive new budget adopted that invests in families and in childcare and housing, which could be for seniors. This is what we think is important to do right now. And after that, maybe an election, because we don't like the corruption that we see right now with the Liberals, and we feel that it's time for a positive change.
Do you think the people like the early election right now, or they don't?
Most people don't seem to want an election right at the moment. They seem to want us to work, so we're spending our time getting the work done, trying to really produce some results for families and for the environment.
Are you happy with the deal you make with Prime Minister Martin?
We think that adding more money to affordable housing, to post-secondary education, where for our young people to get the best education possible that's affordable, also the housing money that would allow some affordable housing to be built, projects like Yihong and Monchong and those kinds of projects. We need more housing for seniors and for families. So these are all good changes to the budget, and I'm happy that they've been made.
Do you have any Chinese candidate in Metro Toronto? right now for any party?
Well, we haven't announced any of our candidates yet, but we expect to have Chinese-Canadian candidates running really in various places across Canada. I think the one who has already declared is in Calgary. He ran for us last time, Chan Sinsam in Calgary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Barbecue banquet organized by TCCSA and sponsored by Ken Travel。歡迎各位嚟到由多倫會主辦加美旅遊贊助嘅國會山莊晚宴。喺呢時候咧，我哋一齊起立咧，我哋先唱國歌。Please rise for the national anthem。Thank you. Please.
Tonight is a special night for TCCSA. We're sharing political ideas among Chinese is something that we always speak in our backyard. What I'm saying in our backyard is people will do that only when they are having a dinner, or gathering, or something like that. But tonight, TCCSA would like to open the doors to the Chinese community to help them to understand more about politics. We are honored to have MPs from the Parliament to be with us tonight, and we would like to tell all the Chinese community that we really can talk to the MPs about what you are thinking, what you have in mind, what you are concerned about, instead of keeping their false ideas in their backyard. And I would like to see by the opening of this door by TCCSA, more Chinese will come out and put in their votes to tell the government that the Chinese community do concern about the politics, because this is Canada, this is our home, this is where we choose to stay, and we should have our say and thought for the government to decide whether it's suitable for us, whether there can be things that can come back to us and suit our community. Things are changing every day. And I do hope that MPs with us tonight can help us do that. And I know that you have a busy schedule, and I try to be short. And thank you for coming. Thank you for all the guests coming. Thank you for the media friends. And enjoy the night.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues with us, Commons, Janice, Jack Layton, we have the NDP, the French colleague Liz Estrada. I'm so very pleased to be with you this evening, and as was mentioned by your Master of Ceremonies, this is a wonderful occasion to meet with you directly, to talk to you about the issues that matter to you, matter in your community. And I can tell you as an East Coast Member of Parliament that we have a very active Chinese community in our province of Nova Scotia, as we see across the country. And your communities are amongst the most active, the most entrepreneurial, the most engaging. Your culture is very much a part of Canadian culture. And so I'm extremely pleased to be with you. I'm also very pleased to see representatives of Boy Scouts Canada here. I just spoke with the president of Boy Scouts Canada, who comes from my hometown in Nova Scotia. So there's a bit of a reunion happening here at our table on Parliament Hill, and that's very much the spirit of what Parliament is. Parliament is your house, and for our youth to be here tonight and to see in these lovely surroundings that this is where democracy happens, this is where government business takes place, that this is your home, your house, the House of Commons. And so again, I bring greetings on behalf of the Conservative Party and our leader, Stephen Harper. I want to thank you very much for the work that you do, for your interest in Canada, your interest in the Canadian political system. I wish you the very best in your endeavors here at this dinner this evening, and again, very, very honored to be with you and to be celebrating on this occasion. Thank you so much for the invitation.
多謝先生，各位各位你好，食飯未啊？I also want to bring greetings from who wanted to say hello to all our friends in the Toronto Chinese Community Services Association. We spoke before I came here, and she said hello to her many friends. It turns out several of you in the room went to Jarvis Collegiate with her years ago, so the friendships go back a long way. It's a real privilege. I think this is a wonderful idea to have brought your group here to Parliament Hill. I want to congratulate your president, Frankie, and the whole organization, because for too long, I think many communities have, to some degree, felt excluded from this place. It's interesting, if you look around at the artwork, not only in this room, but in other rooms, you don't really see the faces of the people that built this country. For example, the Chinese community has been here in Canada for well over 100 years. In fact, 3,000 Chinese men, over 3,000, lost their lives building the railroad across Canada. And yet, that should be recognized. And, sometimes our history isn't always good. We have the most wonderful country now, but the history still has some issues. In the House of Commons, about, I guess it would be about 95 years ago, someone here will know the history better than me, there was legislation passed that said that Chinese couldn't come to Canada. It was called the Chinese Exclusion Act. And the men who were here working, trying to send some money back home to their families, were never able to reunite. And for decades, they had to live alone. And it was a very hard life. Many of them went out and started restaurants, they worked in the communities, they started laundries, tried to make a life, but they couldn't reunite their family. One of the things, you'll be talking a little about politics tonight, and each of us have our political parties and points of view. Our founding leader was a man named J.S. Woodsworth, and he spoke up against the Chinese Exclusion Act because he thought it was racist. At the time, it wasn't very popular. Many people criticized him for taking that position. And of course, there was also the head tax. I had the privilege of knowing many people who paid the head tax. I think particularly of Deep Kwong, who was the first man that I ever met who paid the head tax. He was one of those men who came over hoping to raise money for his family and then could never bring his family here for so many years. He became an old and man on his own, but he contributed to the community. He got involved, those of you from Toronto will know, in the University Settlement Center. And in fact, there's now a Deep Kwong housing project, built affordable housing for single men who work in the restaurants, named after him. And that spirit of trying to get something done, trying to build some housing, trying to start some businesses, trying to rectify injustices, that has so long been part of the Chinese community here in Canada. And I want to salute you and congratulate you, particularly your association, because you've been, I'm looking now for the number of years, it's 32 years that you've been doing this wonderful work of community service. So you've actually become a bridge between people coming to the community for the first time Because it's a political meeting, I'll mention 2 or 3 very, very quick issues, because it's not a night for long speeches, but I hope we can deal with this head tax issue. I hope we can put it behind us, that we can, and there's various legislation and ideas in front of the House of Commons now to have redress for that head tax, which was very unjustified. Mon parti travaille fort à s'assurer que le gouvernement tienne ses promesses et surtout faites aux immigrants. La communauté chinoise-canadienne sait mieux que toute autre communauté l'impact dévastateur de la taxe d'entrée. Si le Canada désire sérieusement d'augmenter son nombre d'immigrants, nous devons éliminer de telles mesures. Effectivement, ils sont déjà éliminés, mais on doit corriger pour ces fautes dans notre histoire. So I just want to wish you well in your meeting of discussion tonight. I'm sorry that I can't stay for the whole evening, but of course back in Toronto we can always talk and work together. I represent East Chinatown, East Chamber of Commerce, and so I'll have a chance to see maybe some of you down there for dim sum. Good
evening, ladies and gentlemen. I promise not to get political tonight, because if I get political tonight, I can probably talk about a couple of hours of immigration. Tony and I have talked a couple of hours of immigration. I don't want to get political tonight, but yes, if I get political tonight, I'll tell you the phone calls that I'm getting in my writing for people that say, why is Canada is multiplying the number of seniors that we bring in, parents and grandparents. If I was to get political tonight, they will say, oh, those Chinese people that walk down Kennedy. And I said, yeah, and I'm also an immigrant. When I get political tonight, because I was getting political tonight, I brought in touch with the days that I came to this country, and it was not a good moment to be a Greek, because the days that we came, the new immigrants, faces of Canada, the long names, the strange faces, those were people that were not welcomed. However, things have changed. 57% of Toronto right today are people with long last names and people with funny looking faces. I thought I had a cornerstone having a long last name with 11 letters, and then I want to hire somebody, his name is 14 letters, it's that long. I thought the Greeks were runaway trains with long last names, and then I started representing Scarborough Airport, and I got a constituency full of talents. I probably enjoy, I think, the largest Chinese constituency in Canada. Could be wrong. Jack, I'm not going to debate that. I got 26,000. I think I got a little bit more than that. Ladies and gentlemen, Scarborough Airport is the most ethnically diverse riding in Canada. And Canada is the most ethnically diverse country in the world. I know what I'm talking about when I talk about immigrants. I'm an immigrant. So, as we're here tonight to celebrate 32 years, I have to tell you, when you were just about opening it up, 1973, it was my last year at Harvard Collegiate. And I used to work as a student at the University of Sutherland. So you and I share some history. And then you stayed downtown and moved uptown, and then you moved up to Markham. Well, you're just across the street from me. It's a pleasure to have you in my part of the world. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. And I want to thank you for coming to Ottawa, because this is, some people sort of forget that the face of Canada is made up of different places. People that come to this house, sometimes forget what is reality, and sometimes forget what is truly meaning. Thank you for coming. God bless, and may you be around for another hundreds of years to come.
Well, thank you. I didn't realize I was going to have the opportunity to make a great comment. But it's wonderful to be here, to be invited by my good friend Joe Lee, and to hear the earlier comments about one of the reasons why you're here, and that's to understand better the political process and to get involved. And that's why I got involved in politics, because I want to make a difference for Canada and for our future generations. So I think it's wonderful that you're here. I think it's smart that you're here, and hopefully I can impart a little bit of wisdom at my table and exchange some ideas of what is important to your community and what is important in Canada. And I must say, just to say a word about Joe, and he's taken it to another level yet, and has offered to throw his hat in the ring and run as a candidate. And I think that's the next step, to even be more involved in the political process. process and have representatives in Parliament to get involved in the policy making and the law making of this country. So it's great that you're here, and it's great to see so many young people here as well this evening. Thank you.
Take you a minute. There's two persons that I forgot to mention and thanks. Jolie, our friend, who's been working so hard arranging for tonight's dinner here, and he's been our friend for a long time already. Now I heard that he's running for the Markham Unionville PC Party candidate. So we would like to see more Chinese going into politics, and if Joe can be the first one to go in there as an MP in Parliament, we will be so proud of him. And we thank Mr. Peter McKay for arranging tonight's banquet too. Yeah, I know that you are a long friend of Joe too, but my thank for the whole arrangement, and really, really thank you for that.
Hi Peter, do you expect an election pretty soon?
I think we could be having an election this spring. I suspect that Parliament will be presented with the opportunity to vote, and that vote will result in a defeat for the Liberal Party. And then Canadians will be given an opportunity to judge the performance of the Liberals and Paul Martin and weigh whether they perhaps will choose Stephen Harper and the Conservative Party to, after 12 years, have the opportunity to work to bring about more productivity, more opportunities, and build a better Canada. That's what Stephen Harper and the Conservative Party are very interested in doing. And we will be presenting ourselves and our candidates to every community and every constituency in Canada.
In that election, do you think the Conservative will get the majority?
We certainly hope to form a majority government, but we're going to have to work very hard to earn the trust, support of those in the Chinese community and those in all of the constituencies across Canada to win enough seats to form a majority government.
So if the election falls in summer, do you think that the turnout will be good or not?
Well, I hope so. I think that this is a very important election, as all elections are, and you know, the issues of corruption and ethics in government are very prevalent, and that threatens the democratic process. So I'm hoping that Canadians will come out in force, they will come out and vote and participate, and I hope that the end result will be that Stephen Harper is the Prime Minister and that our party is successful in forming that majority government.
If Liberal really fails in the next election, do you think the sponsorship scandal will be the cause? Or is this one issue that will turn the government down?
I think that this is the issue that will be very prevalent in the election itself, but we need to talk about healthcare, we need to talk about infrastructure, lower taxes, a more competitive economy. You know, we have to protect the environment. Education is a key issue. So there will be a whole range of issues, but certainly if you can't trust your government, and if your government is wasting and even in some cases stealing money, then they're not fit to govern. And so to that extent, I believe that Canadians will judge harshly the actions of this Liberal government.
And we know that you are the #1 man in the PC federal before. Now become the #2 man in the Conservative. What's your feeling? How do you feel about it?
Well, I've always worked in what I felt was the best interest of the country. I felt it was best that we bring the Conservative family together. A sacrifice had to be made by someone in order for that to happen, and I was willing to do that, and I have no regrets. I work well with Stephen and other members of our party, and I believe very strongly in the Conservative Party, and so I hope that we will have the opportunity to govern to work with Chinese Canadians, new Canadians, to demonstrate that we're an open, inclusive party. And I hope one day that we're going to have more Chinese Canadians sitting within our caucus and sitting in government.
Say any encouraging words to the Chinese community to get you involved in politics?
Well, I think the Chinese Canadians are making an enormous contribution already. They are amongst the most entrepreneurial, the most active in their community. Their view of traditional values, their view of helping those around them and helping those in their own communities is admirable, and the same type of values that we value in the Conservative Party. I also believe that they have a long history and a great attachment to this country, having worked to build the railroad, to build the country through the economy. And so to those in the Chinese community, I say, be involved, be active. We need your voice and we need your presence in this party, and we want you as part of this big family that will govern and build this country.
Thank you, Honourable McKay.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Man, you got to smile.
Hi, Honourable Jim Kerry-Janis. Are you expecting an early election?
Well, that's up to the Conservatives. I mean, if the Conservatives want us to test us the water and go for an election, by all means, the Liberal Party is ready, I am ready, and there's a lot of issues to discuss. There's the issues to discuss, why are we going to an election? Domrate's doing its work. The Prime Minister said we want to get to the bottom of this, and at the end let the chips fall where they may. Why are the Conservatives calling for an election? They don't like the budget, they don't like what we have to do, they don't like to talk about cities, they don't like to talk about new immigrants, they don't like to talk about child care. I'm really, really concerned about their hidden agenda.
Do Canadians really want an early election?
I don't think Canadians want to have an early election. My people in my riding, they have more important things to do. They have issues about immigration. They're very concerned about joining parents and grandparents. We just tripled the quota of immigrants that we're bringing in that category. We took the years from 1 year to 2 years for students that are here in Canada on a student visa in order to get a work permit and work afterwards. Those are the good things that we're going to discuss. Those are the good things that we're going to talk about to the communities at large, with the Chinese community, the Greek community, the Filipino community. Those are the things that matter to Canada. Who done what, where? Well, I'll tell you one thing. That is all political. Those are all political aspirations. And if we go to one election, it's the aspirations of one political individual. One individual is ready to call an election and cost this country $250 million. And that's Stephen Harper. Can you trust Stephen Harper? I don't think so. Canada cannot trust Stephen Harper. Canada cannot trust the Conservatives. Let's not forget Brian Mulroney.
For the past 12, 13 years, Liberal has a pretty smooth governing in Canada, but now just one issue, sponsorship scandal?
Well, if I remember correctly, in the past 30 years, we had Trudeau, and then we got Joe Clark, and we got Trudeau again, and then we got Brian Mulroney. Let's not forget Brian Mulroney. Brian Mulroney came in and he said, I'm going to get rid of the deficit, I'm going to get rid of the debt. And when he left Canada, when the Canadians frankly kicked him out, we were almost at the verge of being broke. We took a country that was virtually broke. We have had 8 years of successive deficit-ridden country, balanced budgets, 8 years of balanced budget. This is the first time that this has been done since 1867.
So, are you ready for election?
Am I ready for an election? I was born ready for an election. They want an election, I'll give them an election they will not forget.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Belinda. This is the first term in Parliament. How do you feel it?
Hello, my name is Belinda Stronach. It's great to be here on Parliament Hill, to be invited by the Chinese community and to see many friends. And I think it's great that the Chinese community is here in Ottawa, that you're engaged in the political process, and I hope to be serving with many more Chinese members of Parliament one day.
You were very successful in your business world. Say, how do you feel that you changed career from business to politics?
Well, I left the business world because I wanted to make a contribution to this country and to my community. And for me, this is about public service, and it's about doing the right thing to help make Canada an even better place to live and to work and to raise a family. And I got into politics because I felt that Canada needed to have a better strategy to be able to compete in this global economy, to not only to protect the jobs we have, but to create new jobs.
But in Parliament, that's more male than females. How do you feel that you will be a minority?
Well, we certainly need to get more young people involved in the political process, more women involved in the political process, and many different Canadians that are new to this country. Get them also involved in the political process and get them involved in the lawmaking process of this country. So,
are you expecting early election?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, so we'll have to wait and see if there is an election or not. But,
if there's an early election, do you think that Conservative get a majority government?
I'm not going to make that prediction. I'm focused on my own community of Newmarket, which I represent, and it's a great honor to be here in Ottawa representing that community.
But what about your riding? Are you ready for the election?
We're always ready for an election because I don't take my community for granted, and we work very hard there to be a strong voice for Newmarket and Aurora here in Ottawa and to address the concerns that my community has.
You say, if you want to talk to the Chinese community, how do you encourage them to get involved in politics?
Well, I think this is a great step here, what you're doing this evening, meeting members of Parliament, talking about politics, and then also as some of the members from your community are doing, getting really involved in the political process and throwing their hat in the ring and running as potential candidates in the upcoming elections. So one day you'll have greater representation from the Chinese community sitting in the House of Commons.
Thank you, MP Belinda Sonic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.俾晒兩張你啊，應該擺張落去度。有兩張嘅先number。俾晒兩。
所以就差唔多1個鐘啦，嗰隻差唔多嗰隻玩就搭車，嗰隻係玩嘅，臨尾4人嗰個人4人。
Okay, turn your face, turn your face.
May I invite Mr. Rob Stewart, CEO and Executive Commissioner of Scouts Canada, and Mr. Anthony Hong, Honourable Committee members of Scouts Canada, to present a charter to Mr. Billy Long and Valandi, Group Commissioner, and Membership Committee Chair of TCCSA. 大家我哋進行呢個頒發授權狀嘅儀式。好啦，我哋一齊咧就 Mr. Rob Stewart 咧就係授權俾萬錦 第9縣統軍。
今次我哋搞呢個國會山莊嘅夜宴，其實打開咗個門口俾親屬，即係社區，亦都同啲國會議員嚟溝通。其實我哋希望做一樣嘢就係多啲人去發表意見啦，或者佢哋有多啲嘅接觸嘅機會時間，佢可以國會議員我哋知道下佢哋嘅需要啦。咁喺政治方面，佢哋可以會根據我哋嘅需要嚟編做翻喺華人社區呢度。以前係有講埋，即係一路以嚟都係唔係話咁 active， 即係咁衷心咁去做呢個工作。咁今次我哋都話會真係好希望有個大嘅嗰個熱情或者個熱誠俾所有嘅人，話俾佢聽呢樣嘢係做，可以同佢哋溝通，甚至乎你又可以自己人參選或者做更多嘅嘢社會。唔該曬你哋。今日呢個晚宴我哋覺得好成功，因為已經搭咗一條橋，有國會議員嚟同我哋溝通，同我哋傾到，話我哋呢啲咁嘅聲音係重要，好開心。今次我哋希望係真真正正。